This program was produced by Now You Know Media.
So we're going to begin by looking at what makes the Holy Land holy after these introductory remarks. People basically know what makes the Holy Land holy to Judaism and Christianity, but what about Islam? Most people in the West don't. And so we'll look at that in detail, something called Muhammad's Night Journey. Absolutely fundamental. When you think of the Dome of the Rock, you have this image in your head right now, don't you, of Jerusalem. The Dome of the Rock wasn't there when Abraham was there. It wasn't there when David was there. It wasn't there when Jesus was there. It's there because of a particular event that happens in the life of Muhammad, 610s, 620s, that kind of thing. And I should say 610s, 620s, AD or CE. I'm going to try to use as much as possible CE and BCE, the Common Era and before the Common Era. Some of you may be familiar with BC and AD. AD, Anno Domini, the year of the Lord being Jesus, and BC, before Christ. But, you know, because I want to be sensitive to the fact that not everybody keeps count according to the Christian calendar, I'm going to do my best. But I must confess that I was raised in a BC, AD environment, and that's just kind of in my bones. So after we look at what makes the Holy Land holy to Jews, to Christians, and then to Muslims, we're going to talk about developing ideas of just war and jihad. Boy, there's another big term, huh? Jihad. There are things that are coming to your mind right now, and I bet that most of those things are related to the last 10, 15, 20 years of world history. Certainly those are the things that came to my mind before I began a closer study of this material, and I'd like to engage you in a conversation on that. The notion of just war, not, oh, just war, but that a war can be just, is really in the bones of the notion of jihad as well. Real jihad, not what some people make of jihad. And it also predates Christianity. So we have ideas of just war in Hebrew scripture, and we have ideas of just war among pagans like Plato and like Cicero, an ancient Greek and an ancient Roman as well. And then once we look at those words, we're then going to look at applications of historical and contemporary ideas of just war and jihad. And then for a couple of topics, we're going to walk through the events of the 5 major crusades. Those are going to be kind of the most chronological of our topics. Again, because that's the framework into which we will drill down and look at specific topics. But we need to know the lay of the land. We need to put ourselves in time and in place on a big timeline, and then we can drill down a little bit more. This is why it's very important when you work with students, put a big map on the board. You know, where are we on the planet? Put a big timeline on the board. Where are we in the history of the world? So having done that kind of prefatory material, what makes the Holy Land holy, ideas of just war and jihad, and then walking through the fundamental chronology and geography, I want to drill down into a series of special topics. The first one is going to be, what did Christians and Muslims know about each other? Not a lot. What they did know, they didn't like. And yet, we also, at the same time, remember we're going to tell the whole story, warts and all, and also we're going to tell parts of the story that don't fit into a piece of history that only finds what it wants. We're going to find conflict between Christians and Muslims, you bet, but we're also going to find interaction between Christians and Muslims and Jews doing business together. Christian merchants hiring Muslim ship captains using Jewish funding and credit instruments, and it worked. We have to look at that part of the story as well. Not to have one side whitewash the other, but to lay it all on the table. Christians and Jews, primarily when we talk about